here. So this is Iffy.news. It's a, it's a index of unreliable news sources. It's built to only factor in one thing. That's failed fact checks. It doesn't care about bias. It doesn't care about partisanship or anything else. It just cares about whether a site is consistently fails fact checks. And those are fact checks by IFCN verified fact checkers. So that, and based on experience, I limited it to just that. There's 400 sites here that meet that criteria. Basically, the criteria for now is, does the media bias fact check give it a factual reporting level of low or very low? That's what's in here. And I factor in other trust ratings as well, mainly NewsGuard. If NewsGuard and media bias fact check disagree, which they almost never do, I take, if NewsGuard says it's okay, I take it off the list. And I've only done that a few times so far. And I'm always looking for data sets that can help this and ways that this can be strengthened, documented, and independently verifiable, so that the goal is to give researchers a list that's very strong of fake news and unreliable news. And not to just say, trust us, this stuff is unreliable, but to give anybody a way to discern whether it's unreliable. So each one of these links to two things. It links to the MBFC page that gives the reason for that unreliability, lists fact checks and things like that. And it also, we built a tool based on what media bias fact check had done. I expanded a tool that I expanded this tool. This is helpful to other researchers as well. I'm gonna put that in a new tab. And it's a fact check search of a site's articles. Well, it's a custom Google search engine that will search anything you want. The intent is to search for a fact checks of a particular site, particular publisher. So there it is. These are the fact checkers through which this custom search engine searches. Enter WikiCred, because I'm always looking for additional data to strengthen this. And Wikipedia is a source of additional site information. So I was able, through the WikiCred grant, to do two things: to add Wikipedia articles to this list and to explore Wikipedia data as an indicator of site reliability. So first, the links. You can see that there's about 125, a little more, of the 400 so sites have Wikipedia articles or are listed on the Wikipedia's list of fake news websites. But if you sort by site ranking, that's Alexa. That's an Alexa metric, Amazon Alexa. You can see that I'm sorry, I should point that out. That's these things here. Quite a few of the top 100. I think about half of the top 100 have Wikipedia information. Now that isn't machine harvestable. It's not structured data information. It's not a binary, is this reliable or not? Spoiler alert, that Wikipedia does not, and nor does Wikidata, have useful information for machine harvestable indicators of site reliability. What it does have is additional information about a site that other trust rating agencies have labeled as reliable or not. I'm going to give you a little example of where the taxonomy and structured data kind of falls apart. Let's see if I can find, yeah, here's one right here. No, I think I'll start with InfoWars. Where are they? Right here. So I'm gonna launch that in a new tab. InfoWars, the type of site is fake news. So that's good. It's rare that that's listed at Wikipedia as a type of site, but were you to go to the Wikidata, there is no mention of fake. Zero mentions of fake. So Wikidata has no knowledge that it's a fake news site. Wikipedia does have knowledge of that. Let me close a couple of these. Let's go to another one where we have the exact opposite case. Wikipedia does not, in its info box, mention its unreliability, but Wikidata has it as a instance of fake news website. By the way, that fake news website, I think this may be the only entity in entire Wikidata that is given that taxonomic term. So again, that's not structured data. That's not a consistent taxonomy that's really any good for signaling source reliability, but it is a good source of information. And so we added it to this index here. The next part of this project that WikiCred helped support was exploring what that information is. I guess I got it open. What the information Wikidata and Wikipedia has on news outlets. And well, I built it off Pete's News on Wiki's Sparkle query, but had to expand it out because there is no single term for all news outlets. There's newspapers, news broadcasters, news websites, news blogs, things like that. So this is a combination. There's 9,600 entries, about 9,000 are the world's newspapers. These are limited to news outlets that have an English language Wikipedia article. Why did I do this? Because someday maybe we'll have use for a reliable sources list. That's a harder and larger list to build than my unreliable sources. And keep in mind, that's my unreliable sources is not all unreliable sources. It's just the ones that fail fact checks on a regular basis as determined by an IFCN verified fact checker. Anyway, it's not all of them, but all the ones listed are unreliable. That was the goal. Anyway, now I'm kind of rambling because I was just exploring the classes and instances and taxonomic terms used and had to create this kind of graph and this kind of graph to get my mind around the various ways news outlets are expressed in Wikidata. Maybe someday this can move on to being valuable in some other way. As I said, a source of, right now it's 9,600 news outlets in various classes at Wikidata that have an English language Wikipedia article. I'm not sure what me or anybody else are ever going to do with it. Just for kicks, I built this map because Pete built a map, so I built a map. This is all the world's newspapers. The colors are meaningless, except, well, they mean language. It's just, I wanted to give it some color there. Here's the methodology I used. Here's the, for instance, things I had to combine to get all the news outlets, because they're not all in newspaper. That these are the, what do they call them? Classes that were combined. If anybody wants to, God forbid, look at the Sparkle queries, there's links to them. And that's about it. I think that's really all I want to say. I'd be more interested if people have questions, because there's quite a lot of it here. This half of the project is an attempt to go down the road of exploring Wikidata and seeing what good it is as machine harvestable information related to site reliability. Right now, it isn't of much good. I also have a ton of data. I should maybe talk to Pete about this, of news on Wiki, a ton of data about news sites that isn't at Wikipedia, and maybe should be, like site rankings, verified URL. In other words, is it secure URL, not secure? Is it have W's if it doesn't? This is kind of more for future conversations about the Wikimedia projects and whether, again, they can help identify via machine harvest unreliable sources by domain name. That's the other problem with Wikipedia and partially Wikidata, is that domain name is a unique identifier, but it's not treated as such in their data structures. Often it's not, anyway. So that's all I have to say. Thank you for listening.